You ever just look at something, like a rock, and then look at, say, a rabbit and wonder what the actual fundamental difference is? It seems so obvious, right? But when you really start to dig into it, that line between living and non-living, well, it gets fascinatingly blurry. So today, let's get into it. What does it really mean to be alive?
All right, let's start with what we all kind of know, right? Our gut feeling. When you just look around the world, what are the dead giveaways that tell your brain, oh yeah, that thing's alive? Usually it's the stuff we can actually see with our own eyes.
Yeah, I mean, movement is a huge one, isn't it? You see a dog just tearing across a park, and there's zero doubt in your mind that is a living creature just full of energy.
And it's the same thing with, a cow just kind of standing there in a field chewing. It's definitely not as dramatic as the dog, for sure, but it's still a visible, active thing that's happening. These are the signs we instinctively pick up on as proof of life.
Okay, but here's where we hit a little snag. Is that really the whole picture? Because if we only rely on what our eyes can see, we are going to miss the most important parts of what it means to be alive. I mean, really think about it. Someone who's sound asleep isn't exactly running around, but they are 100% alive. Or what about a plant? It's growing, for sure, but it's happening so slowly that we can't possibly see it happen in real time. So clearly, our first simple idea, it's just not enough.
So to get to the real answer, we got to go smaller, like way, way smaller. The true signature of life isn't happening on a scale we can see. It's happening at the molecular level.
And this is the secret sauce, molecular motion. It's this constant, invisible buzz of activity, molecules zipping around inside every single cell. This movement is what lets an organism fix things that break, build new stuff, and just run the whole show. It's a kind of beautiful, organized chaos. And this really gets to the heart of the challenge for every living thing. See, any organism is an incredibly organized structure, but the universe, well, it loves disorder. The environment is always, constantly trying to break that organization down. So being alive is basically being in a constant battle to just hold itself together. Okay, so if being alive is basically a full-time maintenance job, what exactly is on the to-do list? What are the specific tasks that every single living thing has to do just to keep the lights on? Yeah, scientists have a name for this stuff, of course. Life processes, or jive prakram. You can think of it like a universal job description for being alive. Doesn't matter if you're a plant, a person, or a mushroom, you have to solve the same basic set of problems just to exist.
And look, problem number one, the big one that everything else depends on, is energy. You just can't do any of this maintenance work without fuel.
Right. All this repair and upkeep, it takes a ton of energy. And that energy has to come from somewhere else. The way we get that external fuel, we call it nutrition. For you and me, that's, grabbing a bite to eat. For a plant, it's soaking up sunshine. But, just getting the food isn't the end of the story. It's like, you can't just pour crude oil into your car and expect it to run, right? You need refined gasoline. It's the same for our bodies. Respiration is the process that takes that raw food and breaks it down, releasing the energy in a form our cells can actually use. All right, so we've got our fuel and we've turned it into usable energy. But in something as big and complicated as us, with trillions of cells, well, you need a seriously good logistics department and a waste management crew. Think about it. Your stomach handles the food, your lungs grab the oxygen, but what about a cell in your brain or way down on the tip of your toe? It needs that energy right now. That's where a transportation system, like our blood vessels, is absolutely critical. It's the body's internal highway, making sure every last cell gets its delivery of fuel and oxygen. And here's the thing about any factory or engine. Making energy, well, it makes a mess. It creates waste. And in our cells, those chemical byproducts are actually toxic. If they just piled up, they'd poison the whole system from the inside out. So that's where excretion comes in. It's the body's essential cleanup crew. Okay, so that's the big picture. Get food, make energy, deliver it, and clean up the mess. Now let's see how this all plays out in one of the most incredible processes on the entire planet: photosynthesis. It's this amazing three-act play, really. First, the green stuff in leaves, chlorophyll, grabs sunlight. Then, and this is the magic part, it uses that light energy to split water molecules apart and create chemical fuel. And for the grand finale, it uses that fuel to snatch carbon dioxide right out of the air and turn it into food. Just incredible.
And what you're looking at here is a close-up of a leaf. See all those little green dots? Each one of those is a chloroplast. It's a tiny, tiny factory where all of this is happening. This is where sunlight, water, and air are literally turned into life. And by the way, the oxygen that we're all breathing right now, yeah, that's just a byproduct. It's wild when you think about it. So you might be wondering, how does the plant actually get that carbon dioxide out of the air? Well, it basically breathes it in through these microscopic little mouths all over its leaves called stomata. And this is so cool. These aren't just dumb holes in a leaf. They're like these little automated doorways. They've got these two guard cells that can plump up with water to open the pore and let CO2 in, or they can go limp to seal it shut and stop the plant from drying out. It's a perfect, tiny example of a living thing actively controlling its own environment. So, when you boil it all down, what have we learned? It's that being alive isn't really a thing you are. It's a collection of processes you do. It's an active, nonstop fight against chaos. Every living thing is basically solving the same set of problems: how to get energy, how to move it around, and how to get rid of the trash. And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating and kind of tricky question. If life is defined by all this doing, this active work, then what on earth is a virus? Think about it. When it's just floating around, it's nothing. It's just a little package of chemicals. It doesn't eat, it doesn't breathe, it's not doing any of this stuff. But the second it gets inside one of our cells, it hijacks the whole factory and forces it to do all the work. So where do you draw the line? Is it alive, or is it something else entirely? Now that is something to chew on.